Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the last semifinal of Season 4 headed your way. The finalist teams have been whittled down now. 4 out of the 5 leagues have already been decided. We know, or we at least have a pretty good idea of what teams are now in contention to take the championship. Heading into the Challenger League now, we're going to find out who the final team to make it to the grand finals will be. Before we get started with that, though, I'm joined here in the booth with none other than the goated caster himself, manager and general manager, Bagels. What's going on, Bagels?
Might want to add season 4 grand champion, or not grand champion. Oh, I botched it. Season 4 champion to the list. But we have to wait till Saturday to decide that. But somebody else's championship hopes on the line is our one and only dictator himself, Rockerman on Ascension. Also, thank you for the intro. But yes, our very own dictator is on the line for his hopes to face off against Motion this upcoming Saturday for Championship Saturday.
And it is the furthest that he has gotten so far. I believe before this, actually, last season was the furthest. He got to the first round with me on Ascension. We got first rounded. We don't talk about that, though. Now he's actually in finals content, or he's close to being in finals contention. Kind of a scary thought, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him, as we will have Ascension taking on the Drakes here. The Drakes themselves have had quite a comeback this season. They started out, a little bit shaky. A lot of roster changes that were a little bit unorthodox left them stranded in the middle of the season, but they've done well to recuperate, and they made their way back into the playoffs at the 5th seed, made an absolutely storming run through the lower bracket, and now they're in the semifinals facing off at a spot potentially in the grand finals. Bagels, the Drakes might have been a little bit slept on. This one might be a lot closer than some people are anticipating.
Yeah, and the competitiveness of the series could be a talking point because Reed he's still trying to get back home after that vacation to Florida. That Rockerman got that 1 seed to make sure he could buy all the time he could, but even then he couldn't buy all the time he truly needed because it's looking like Alpha is going to have to make the sub in for at least the first 1 or 2 games, and that's going to be a lot of pressure on him to compete. And that potentially, if things go awry, that could give Drake's a 2-0 lead in the series. Worst case scenario there for Rockerman.
Yeah, having Alpha as the sub in here, I believe he's only played, I want to say, less than even a handful of games throughout the entire season. It's definitely going to be an interesting element and one that could very well shape the outcome of the match. A lot of pressure on his shoulders to live up and try and help Ascension maintain their status, as they do have a status right now of being the best team in Challenger League. Drake's here to challenge that. And something I also want to talk about actually is that the Drakes coming into playoffs also had a last minute roster change, as Kiwi, I believe, he's an active duty military member, and he was sent away on some mission or something of the sort, so he's no longer able to play. So the Season 3 champion, actually, in an interesting turn of events, the Season 3 champion on the Drakes, Logie, came back from hiding. He said he didn't want to play earlier in the season, but he agreed to play for the Drakes in the playoffs. So 2 interesting roster moves. Logie, I think, has actually done some great work for the Drakes as well, though.
Yeah, the old guard of the Drakes coming out to play, and he showed up big the first 2 series, and I wouldn't put it past him to have a big impact in this series right here as the only person left on that roster from that Season 3 championship run, the undefeated run. Now, granted, the Drakes haven't had quite as an impeccable of a season here in Season 4, but either way, they find themselves in the semifinals in contention to potentially go for a back-to-back bout of a grand finalist run, but it's not going to be an easy task even with Alpha on the roster. And what do you think we got here? Is Rockerman finally going to make the push? Is he going to make the push into grand finals and eventually win?
I do think it's possible. I'd also like to add real quick that if the Drakes do end up winning this season, it'll be back to back to back as they won Season 2 Grand Finals as well in dominant fashion. The last time these two teams actually met in playoffs was in the semifinals of Season 2. Just want to throw that out there real quick. But I do think that the Ascension does have a slight edge in this one. Even with the sub and with Alpha, I still do think that they can take this one, but this is a hard one to predict as there's so many outlying factors that are going to have influence. I think I'm going to try to give it to Ascension in 7 games after a 10 series. What do you think, Bagels?
Yeah, I think it depends on how big of an impact Alpha has, but I'm gonna have to give the edge to Ascension as well. I just think the rotation, even with Alpha and potentially when Reed eventually makes it into this lobby, I just think the rotations from Ascension are better. I mean, somehow, some way. I mean, granted, it was a sweep over the race, but the Drakes clawed their way in a Game 7 set against Dissolved, and it did not look convincing at all. Me and Chipmunk, or was it you and me, or was it me and Chipmunk? I don't even know who was casting at this point. I think it was you and me, but it was a absolutely strange series.
I I feel like I would remember that series. There's a chance I casted it, but it might have been you and no, it was you and Chipmunk. I remember because there was some interesting
There was
comments.
some
But with
kickoff
that being
shenanigans. There was some kickoff shenanigans for sure.
yeah, that there was, and no kickoff shenanigans to start off this series, but there will be a Rockerman possession play. Rockerman back here in his trusty F-150. Ever since the car dropped, he's been using none other than this one, claiming that it is his key to victory. Almost hard to argue as he climbed the ladder of ranked pretty far with it. We'll see how far into the playoffs it can take him. As Ascension with an early opportunity. Patience from Dizzy on the goal line. And the danger is cleared for now. Now the Drakes can't find anything of their own yet. But more patience on the dribble from Dizzy. Opting to take control rather than going for these big clears. We'll see how that works out for them as he tries to take control once again. Rockerman reading him this time. Dunking him out. A little bit of a double commit on defense, but no one there to send the ball back for Ascension immediately. Here comes Alpha. Looking for the pass to Green. Not going to be a threatening shot as Ray clears that one. Actually, this is just an open net. Rockerman can't get back, and I don't know where the defense went for Ascension. It just evaporated there.
I saw, yeah, I saw Alpha on the right side, and I don't know if he was going up for an aggressive boost steal in the corner, or maybe he thought Rockerman and Green Glow were gonna keep possession a little bit longer on that Drake side. But I mean, I have no idea what he was thinking of right there. He could have just grabbed a few pads in the mid and kept up the pressure for a follow-up, but either way, an unfortunate goal to give it up to start. And I wanted to mention, I don't know if you've seen this as well, but it looks like as far as the first opening minute is concerned, both teams are looking real slow right now. Maybe nerves playing a factor.
There does seem to be an element of that, starting with the a little bit of pressure from Ascension, but slow shots. I think a lot of that's due to the Drakes choosing to kind of dribble instead of going for anything, and the dribbles do not look exceptionally speedy. As here comes Dizzy, but I definitely think you're correct. Both teams looking not as fast as their typical selves. This might be something we see change as the series progresses, though. As
Yeah,
Logie
definitely.
looking.
Even the first minute, or the next minute, sorry. The next minute looks a little quicker, actually, but definitely that first minute, something was off. But definitely this next minute, both these teams are actually playing a lot more confidently now. So they just got to warm up the wheels, get them extra tire change on that F-150 right there.
Make that real quick pit stop, and then they're all good for action. Well, we'll see if the F-150 is, but I will agree that both teams now picking up the pace a little bit, although still not maybe as fast as I've seen them in the past. Now Rockerman looking for the dribble here to the clear, tries to get this middle, gets it past everyone actually. Ray barely getting a touch, and a crucial one at that. I'm also a pretty I don't know if I would say fan, but Ray certainly has an interesting name in this lobby. You know, a name change is an element that can sometimes help to gain a mental advantage. Maybe not that large of one, as Dizzy looking to gain a spatial advantage as that ball just goes right off the crossbar. But
Well,
you know,
700 pounds does sound pretty large.
Yeah, that does sound like a a fairly large body there. We'll see if it can help Drakes keep the advantage here, as they were under some pressure there for a second. It's mostly dissolved for now. Ascension on the counterattack, and they finally strike back after having quite a bit of pressure.
Yeah, and Rockerman, his playstyle is just very annoying. He likes to stay as close to the ball as possible, and we already saw him earlier going for a lot of bump plays that didn't result in any goals, but always an advocate for the dribbles and just keeping the ball close to him. And that was just a good layup off the corner, and Green narrowly edging that past the final defender, and way to pick up Alpha after his mistake earlier and try and carry themselves to a big opening game win here.
And we do have an even game in front of us once again. Like you said, that play style can be very annoying to play against, but also very effective, especially at the challenger level. Just trying to suffocate your opponents until they have no space to do anything. You can just hit open nets. So far, not working out badly for Ascension as they almost have another opportunity. They will, and Green Glow off the post with a nice pass from Rockerman.
And another good assist play coming out from Rockerman. Green over to Rockerman, and the lightest of touches to set that one perfectly back in the midfield. And Green, he almost missed the shot, but still a banger that's put on the net. And Drake's, other than that opening mistake coming out from Alpha on the rotation, they haven't really looked convincing at all. And if the Drakes are going to look this unconvincing with Alpha in play, deciding or depending on whether they want to sub Reed in once he eventually does show up back at his home, could be troubling for Drakes. But then again, just the first game in the series.
And honestly, other than that first mistake, Alpha isn't looking that bad. I mean, I think that Ascension potentially, if they're playing well enough, could even stick with the same roster. Definitely not out of the question as Alpha looking for a goal of his own. Can't brutally work his way past both defenders. Now a counterattack opportunity and a great infield pass to secure the tie game for the Drakes.
And Logie, he kind of got lucky that he missed that ball off the sidewall. I think if he ended up pinching that, that play would have never happened. But then again, Green, he was left all alone for what seemed like almost 5 seconds. Not sure where Rockerman or Alpha were, but still a great play coming out from the Drakes to tie this one back up in the final seconds. And could have a final counterattack opportunity here, but this one will touch the ground. And just like so many series before, we got overtime in the first game of this best of 7.
And we have had quite a few good series today, quite a few good games going to overtime. This is yet another. We'll have to see. The first game can often be the most influential, even in a best of 7. You need that momentum advantage. Alpha looks for the pre-flip to Rockerman, won't miss the open net, and it's just too much for the Drakes.
And that was actually a huge play coming out from Alpha. That really put Dizzy on edge because Dizzy wasn't sure how much power was going to come out of that pre-flip. And I mean, lucky for Ascension and company, that pre-flip resulted in a light touch. And then Green was able to follow shortly thereafter, and then Rockerman right after that. And I mean, it was a 1-goal game, but it still felt like Ascension was in complete control of this opening game here. And the shot department does not lie either, sitting at 11 shots to Drake's 4.
And also, all 4 shots coming from Dizzy himself. I mean, there was a nice pass there from Logie, but other than that, the Drake's offense really didn't look very coordinated. It looked like one-man parties trying to make something happen, and not much was resulting from it. I'd have to agree that even though the scoreline was close and it was overtime, Ascension looked to be in control the majority of the game, other than a couple lapses in judgment on defense. The Drakes are going to have to try and find some offense of their own if they want to bring this series back to something reasonable.
Yeah, and one key player for the Drakes that seemed out of place there was Ray Ray. And in the Dissolved series, in the Race series, I mean, perhaps even for most of the season, Ray Ray has been the guy, the goal scorer, the top point getter. And in that opening game right there, he was sitting at barely over a 100 points, I believe. And he didn't have any shots to his name. Like you said, Dizzy had all 4. And he wasn't involved in the assist play either. And if Drake's want to have any hope of beating Ascension here, they got to get Ray Ray involved. As questionable as his tactics may be, if he could get them in order, I mean, could put Ascension in quite the awkward spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not giving Ray Ray space, that's really where he shines on the roster. I mean, you can question his methods all you want, and Ray Ray, speaking of which, will potentially steal a goal, but will score one off the bat for the Drakes.
Yeah, and I just don't think Rockerman had enough boost to come up for that play. And I mean, speak of the devil, and he shows up. It was a goal steal, but I mean, right before that, I don't even know if you saw in the midfield, he cut off Dizzy, bumped him off the ball, 50'd his own teammate shortly thereafter, and then stole the goal. So, I mean, that's just Ray Ray in a nutshell. But hell, it worked for him, and now they got a 1-0 lead.
You know, I didn't see any of that happen, but I 100% believe you.
Oh, it was 100% truthful.
That was just such a Ray Ray play. But he is one of those players that can just pop off. And speaking of popping off, the Drakes are now, as Dizzy's going to add another one to the board.
Yeah, and definitely a good power shot coming out from him. Not the best location, but the net was open. And it seems like the only way these Drake's goals are happening is just lapses in rotation from Ascension. Greeny tried to roll that up the sidewall in the corner. It's a great save coming out from Ray Ray. And just nobody was home.
Yeah, it looked like everyone just taking a little bit too wide of a rotation. Everyone on the Ascension roster expecting someone else to be back to save that shot. I mean, coming into this series, you were complimenting their rotation, saying that they looked more solid than the Drakes, even with Alpha. But to be honest, the Drakes' rotations have looked more solid for the majority of the series so far. I mean, Ascension had good pressure and made good plays, but if it weren't for their rotations, they would definitely still be closer in this game and probably would have had a higher lead in the first game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, conceptually, that was from more of a conceptual standpoint, but I mean, definitely, I feel like based on the two previous games that the Drakes have played, the Drakes rotation has not looked good, but I mean, they definitely look good here. Even in the first game, it looked decent. It just looked like they got outpaced and Ascension ran all over them, at least as far as the shots were concerned. But game two, they're definitely exploiting this Ascension roster and their lack of chemistry with each other, as this is the second game. Rockerman said 1 to 2 games, but it could even very well be more. A shot's rolling in for Ascension, and Alpha couldn't find it. Green there. Alpha almost blocking the shot with his own squishy save, but eventually the shot's rolling in for Ascension.
And, you know, I want to give credit to the pressure play for Ascension, but really that couldn't have happened without a few interesting whiffs from the defenders there. A little bit of panic from the Drakes, as, you know, they were under serious pressure, but if one of them just took a deep breath, tried to touch that ball, they could have at least avoided getting scored on for a few more seconds. Just complete misses, and that's going to allow Ascension to climb their way back into into this game, excuse me, fairly easily.
Yeah, and almost another good opportunity there from Drake's Ray Ray faking out too. And you know, I was asking for Ray Ray to get involved here in game two, and he certainly has been a playmaker here, and on defense and offense. Although put in an awkward spot here is Rockerman charging in for the shot, and that's going to leave the net open. But Green able to get back in time to save them out.
And this time there will be someone back from Ascension, but more risky plays. Rockerman going to take a calm clear here. He'll have a bit of space, but Dizzy actually shutting him down before he can even begin. A little bit of a fake there. Logie coming in for the shot. But a block from Ascension. Crucial touch there. More touches coming out. All of a sudden, Drakes are finding their pressure. Ascension trying to fight their way out of their half. But Logie, even with 0 boost, still sticking around. Gets a good 50. Dizzy there for the shot. Can't find the touch. Still, Ascension can't breathe. And they're actually suffocating themselves as Alpha and Gringlo, a little bit of a double commit there. Still managed to get the ball to the midfield, but that's as far as it'll go for now. More challenges coming out, putting the ball in awkward spots for Ascension. And the Drakes, all of a sudden, really upping the pressure here. That's a big 50 from Green, though, and this could allow Ascension to get a little bit of space. Alpha, 50's in the corner. That ball's going to go out. The light touch from Logi. Green going for another touch, actually. Double committing with Rockerman there. And all of a sudden, Bagels, it does look like the Drakes are finding their offensive coordination. The ball finally escapes Ascension's half, but it's the first time in a couple of minutes.
And I wouldn't even call it too much coordination. It's just basic rotation as Dizzy's taken a pause there in the midfield. We'll have to see if that becomes a concern in a second as the net open, but Ascension still can't score. But it just seems like Ascension, they're beating themselves. They're running all over each other, bumping each other off the ball. Another big double commit right there. And they're just not coordinated right now on the opposite side.
And you can see it, even as it's a 2v3, it has been for quite some time. Still, Drakes are going to come away with the game win, although they weren't even playing with a third player for the last almost minute of the game.
Yeah, and that kind of just goes to show the last 20, 30 seconds, however long it was, how disorganized the Ascension roster was. I mean, there was time and time again where Rockerman went to cut off a ball and just he just ran over Alpha, ran over Green, and then the same thing happened with Green and Alpha. And they still had more shots than the Drakes, but just they couldn't get coordinated on defense. And then on top of that, the that 2 goals that they gave up in that first 30 seconds just came back to bite them as they weren't able to mount that comeback.
Yeah, and other than those first 2 goals, their defense did seem to somewhat become more solid. I mean, like you said, they were still stepping all over each other, but they at least did not allow any more goals. After that point, just couldn't find their offense, and not for lack of opportunities. Looking slightly less threatening in the latter half of this game. Now, I'm still not sure if Reed is even back, or if that is the cure that Ascension will be looking for. But the Drakes definitely looking far more formidable as opponents compared to their game one selves.
Yeah, and a big part of that was Ray Ray getting involved. Just he had his Ray Ray hijinks. I know you didn't see it, but I sure as hell got it burned into the back of my brain. He bumped his teammate off the ball, took the ball from him, and stole the goal. And that's just the way the Drakes roll sometimes. But it ended up working out for him, and we're still waiting on Dizzy to try and get back into that lobby after that player disconnect. And I mean, thankfully for the Drakes, they technically had to call for the reset, but they didn't bother calling for it. They decided to play out that final 20 seconds and are able to hold off Ascension in the 2v3. But now series tied up at 1-1. And I mean, I'll throw it back to you, merely. Is it just the fact that Ascension are disorganized on defense, or did Drakes actually come up to play that game?
I mean, I'd have to argue that Ascension's defense really just let them down there. The Drakes still didn't, even though they had a lot of pressure, they didn't really come up with any great passing plays or anything that looked super threatening. Their shooting doesn't appear to be on exactly on point right now. Well, it could be, but they're just not really taking that many shots where it would be tested. I in the end, it seemed like the only goals really came out of Ascension's misplays, and like you said, Ray just causing a bit of chaos. I guess there is no real right way to play Rocket League. Some of his methods may be considered unconventional, but they work for his playstyle, and I can testify playing against him that it can get tilting when you're watching someone do things that any Rocket League coach would slap you for doing, and the ball still goes in your net. It can it can get a little bit frustrating, but Ray somehow sometimes finds a way to make it work.
And Ray Ray definitely one of those players that Rockerman has a quote unquote vendetta against. Ray Ray or Rockerman said quote unquote he was not gonna lose to Ray Ray and the Drakes, and same thing goes for Motion. He truly believes that this is the season that Rockerman will truly win a legit title himself, not due to the GM, not due to season one taking over my org after my GM got banned and taking my championship title. This is his chance to get the true legit title. And we got breaking news. Reed is in the lobby now, and we'll have to wait and see when the players actually join up if we can see that Reed will indeed be subbing in for Alpha, as we are still waiting on the Drakes here, and they got a few more minutes left before they forfeit this individual game. So hopefully we can get the gameplay back and rolling as quick as possible. But what do you have thoughts on the first chance at a legit title here for Rocker, man?
You know, it's definitely something that the entire league should be scared of. You know, Rockerman getting a Rockerman getting a grand finals champion tag. Oh man, no one in the server is ever gonna live it down. We can't even say Rockerman bad anymore. Well, we can, but it won't have as much weight to it. So you guys have got to stop this happening at all costs. Just kidding, because I'm the AGM, so I want that title too. But it is an interesting turn of events. Rockerman, I mean, I gotta give it to him. He's played the best Rocket League that I've ever seen him play this season. If there was any season where he deserved it, it would definitely be this one. And Greenglow and Reed have definitely been up to the challenge as well as they've been popping off. So I do think it will be deserved. Whether or not it'll happen, well, they've got to weave their way through this mess of a series before they get that far.
And to Rockerman's credit, I know I usually flame him every time he's on stream in the regular season. Playoffs is a little bit more serious. I like to try and give the man credit where credit is due, and he has definitely in the stat department and just the gameplay department looking like a lot more solid of a player. Definitely not the strongest person in Challenger League, but definitely a solid player on this Ascension roster. And, this could be his chance to shine. And honestly, going back to the whole sub situation, I think it's kind of a steal. Granted, they could have gone up 2-0 in the series actually with Alpha, but it's kind of a steal for the series to be notched up at 1-1 with Alpha coming in as the sub so far.
Yeah, definitely fortunate for them that having to play a sub didn't have too much of an impact. To Alpha's credit, he did play very well for the most part of both games, it seemed. He hasn't really gotten that much play time in this season, like we mentioned earlier, but he did well to step up, and he has been fitting into the Ascension roster, I'd say, adequately for the most part. He even was instrumental in, I mean, he was instrumental in their game one victory. So if they do manage to advance to the grand finals, can definitely attribute. I can't talk. Sorry, can definitely say that Alpha took a big part in that, winning at least one game for Ascension. We'll have to see if they can carry on the momentum. One other thing to mention is that if Reed is subbing in now, he has been in Florida for a week, so I don't know. I don't know how good you guys are at Rocket League after spending a week. I assume like on the beach, sipping mimosas, surfing, or whatever Reed was doing in Florida. But he might. He hasn't even played a single game of Rocket League in at least a week. So he might be a little bit rusty. There might be a little bit of a factor there. I don't know if he's depending on his chemistry with Rockerman and Green and just his muscle memory. But definitely not the series isn't over yet, even if Reed just got back.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just depends. I mean, sometimes people feel fresh after a week off. Sometimes people just need a moment away from the game. I know that helps me every now and then. And honestly, with my work schedule, I barely play the game as it is. I actually have quite a few hours recently, but half of that is AFK or due to casting. But I definitely say a little time off can help mend the Rocket League skill. But honestly, just depends on the player and how much they want to grind it out. But really depends.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Every now and then you need a break. Everyone gets burnt out on Rocket League if you're just grinding ranked 24/7. Uh, Other than just wanting to never play Rocket League again, you're probably not going to be peaking if you're just forcing yourself to play. It can help to take a little vacation, literally or figuratively. Just stop playing the game for a little while. I will say sometimes there are times where I take short breaks, like a week or so, and I come back and I feel better than ever. But then there are also those times where I take a short break, and I only play the game for like a few days or maybe a week, and then I come back and I just forgot how to even hit the ball at all. So I can definitely attest to there being different types of players and different things that can happen. We'll have to see. I don't know if Reed. I hope he's at least gone into like free play or something, and assured himself that he hasn't forgotten the controls. R2 is drive forward, unless you're Rizzo. Then actually it's not. I don't really know what controls Reed has.
He's playing on a GameCube controller.
The true alpha move to play on a
I
GameCube
actually
controller.
don't even know what the controls are on that. It's been a hot minute since I've played Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And uh, more news. The players still aren't here, and the FF timer has actually expired. But good guy Rocker Man uh, deciding that he will play the series out. And so props to Rocker Man not taking the easy dub. And the little voice in my ear, C Money, the goat, has said that the players are actually on their way from the Drakes. I'm not quite sure what happened, but it looked like it was just a Dizzy issue, and now it's a whole Drakes issue. But we'll try and get this one up in at least another minute or two here for you boys, and resume the series here in this game 3. And honestly, Merely, I think I've said all I need to say. We just got to get these boys back in here.
Yeah, we just want to play some Rocket League now. Well, we want to watch some Rocket League get played. Rockerman has now, well, he's confirmed he'll give him till 12:05, midnight 05 o'clock. Yes, I intentionally said that. So they got 3 minutes. We'll see. I really don't want to end this stream on an FF. Okay, and there they are. They joined the lobby. The boys are back in town, and everything is all right.
I don't know. I have very fond memories of that song. I don't know. But yeah, so
Fair enough.
the boys are back in town, and the lobby is up. Game 3 is gonna be underway. Um, I will say, I thought Rockerman was being pretty gracious, and then he decided that they only had 5 more minutes after that. Kind of a little selfish, considering I gave his Titan team 40 minutes to work with. But either way,
Oh my.
we got Game 3 back here.
Yeah, either way, hey, he said Alpha has to go to bed, so you gotta respect the bedtime. Either way, we will be finding our way into game number 3. Now, this series has been whittled down to a best of 5 rather than a best of 7. Uh, Interesting turn of events. We knew this series was going to have some element of this, but we didn't know how far just it would go. Now here's Reed, looking to make his presence known in the offensive end. Does not look like he's shying away from the ball at all so far, as he's going to come out and score immediately.
And the annoying antics of Rockerman continue, getting his way in the way of Logie and Dizzy, thinking Logie was going to be there for the touch, paving the way for the newfound player fresh off the plane from Florida. It's Reed time.
It's Reed time, and that's definitely what you want to see if you're an Ascension fan. Hopefully the worries of him not being warmed up will be quelled, as he's scored his first goal, and now he's got to have at least gotten his confidence up a little bit. Ascension taking their first lead since game 1. Now they just have to hold on to it or extend it. Green looking for the pass out. Reed, pinches with him. And now Rockerman will have an opportunity to dribble. Logie hitting this one to the side. Gets it past Rockerman. Greenglow is stuck in an awkward spot. And Reed, not the best touch. This could be an opportunity. The pass to Ray will be good.
Yeah, and just Drake's clapping back, and Green out of position slightly as last man. And again, the Ascension rotation proving to be that it is exploitable. And maybe my comments before the series were not as concrete as I thought, as Drake's once again proving that the Ascension roster, they got that defense to work on.
And that they do. It looked like Greenglow just didn't expect Rockerman to get caught out by Logie as hard as he did. And the double touch by Logie, to be fair, was a very effective one. Reed also not getting the most perfect touch. But now we do have a tied game on our hands. Ascension looking to clap back once again. Reed doesn't get the bust touch to the middle. Will go to Ray, who gets it off the backboard. Avoiding the double commit is Ascension, but only narrowly. And even the slight commit towards a double commit can be a little bit detrimental to your mentality and to the rotations of the team, as Green now looking for the pass, tries to get to Rockerman. Rockerman not on target, though. And here comes Ray. Actually, he's breaking away. Green barely has to race back in time, but still the Drakes have a chance here. Luckily for them, Dizzy has no boost. And as we reach the halfway point of this third game, I gotta say, it actually so far is looking not so much different from games 1 and 2 in terms of Ascension's rotations kind of being a little bit scuffed and the Drakes coming close to capitalizing on them.
Yeah, well, it is kind of hard for a 700-pound man to have a breakaway like that, but either way, Ray Ray not able to get it away, but the breakaway this time is good from Logie. And again, there was 3 people back for a hot second, and then the double commit happens, and an open net.
And it looked like the 700-pound man there did get in the way of a defender a little bit. But other than that, not much of an excuse to allow an open net like that. As it looks like Ascension can't quite equalize. This is actually dangerous for them now off the kickoff as Reed is the only one back. Manages to find the touch, but the Drake's still incoming. And a little bit of a double commit almost, but Dizzy can't find the touch. Green has to make it clear here. Does well. And Rockerman tries to pass middle, but a dangerous pass as that one was almost set up perfectly for the Drake's offense, who are now coming out swinging in full force. It seems like every single game they find a little bit more space to work with, taking it from Ascension and taking advantage of the fact that Ascension isn't utilizing their resources as efficiently as they could be.
And boost continually to be a problem, and the boost could very well be a problem because all these Ascension players are looking for bumps and demos on the opposite side, and they're using boost to go to the same ball, just like we saw there between Rockerman and Green. And it almost looks like the rotation's gotten worse since they've subbed out Alpha, and I don't even know if it's Reed to blame. It just, maybe they have newfound confidence now that Reed is in. They think they're a better team, but they're kind of trampling over each other more than they were with Alpha.
Yeah, they just seem to be kind of going for the same balls, and then once they realize it, they hesitate. At that point, it's too late. Now down a goal, less than a minute left. They have to find something here soon. Rockerman continuing with his annoying bumps. But there's no third man to follow up there. And now Gringlow as the third is going to try and make a touch. Gets a nice clear out. Can follow this one. Tries to dunk Logie, but can't really find a way through. This might be, but still, Drake's defense holding strong. Green looking for the air dribble. Gets it past one, but still the Drake's defense holding on. 10 seconds now. Reed getting it past middle. Green looking for the shot, blocked by Dizzy. Now Reed up, passing down, but he's not passing to anyone. Ascension is on the retreat now, and it doesn't look like they're going to have another opportunity. The Drakes are going to take a series lead.
And the reason nobody was there to pass to is because Rockerman double committed with Reed. I mean, the ball was right next to Reed, and he dished it out perfectly to the middle, but Rockerman had already jumped for the ball. And just continuing to be a problem with the double commits. I saw maybe a few double commits in games 1 and 2 between Ascension, but I mean, almost every time the camera panned to Ascension's half and anytime Ascension was on the ball, not only were they double committing on defense, but offense as well. And I can understand double committing on defense in stressful situations or situations with no boost, but you should be rarely double committing on offense if you've been a successful team as Ascension has been.
Yeah, there's not much of an excuse there. We can maybe chalk it up to the chemistry being weakened slightly after Reed has not gone to play with his team for quite some time now. But either way, Ascension are going to have to try and figure out these mistakes soon, or else it could be their playoff hopes that get eliminated. They are still in this series, only down one game now, but they have to come out and try to strike soon, or else it might run away from them.
And as always, Game 4 is a big swing game, especially when the series score is a 2-1. Team that wins the 2 margin goes up 3-1, or you bring it back at a 2-2 scoreline for the series. And if you're Ascension, you need to win this game. And while we saw earlier Gravity down 3-1 in the series, able to come back and win it all the way in a interesting Game 7, you do not want to put yourself in that spot, and you do not want to give the 700-pound man, and the rest of Drake's this kind of confidence to beat the dictator himself.
Yeah, for the sake of the health of your own heart, you do not want to have to put yourself in that position, and especially if you're a 700-pound man. But hopefully, for their sake, they'll be able to even this one out as Dizzy looking for a shot here. I will say, we have had a couple of almost comebacks. Diffusion even came close to coming close to completing a reverse sweep, the first one we would have seen in a best of 7, but they were cut short by the Kiwis. Ascension doesn't still not want to find themselves in the same position. This is an opportunity for the Drakes to get past, and this ball is still centered. Can't quite find the shot, but that's a scary situation for Ascension to find themselves in once again. Now feeling the force of Drake's offense at full strength. Dizzy going up for this one, looking for the double touch, gets it, and it hits the post. Once again, another big scare for Ascension.
And honestly, if Dizzy hit that shot, I would have thrown my controller if I was Ascension. You lose a game 3 to nobody's fault but your own, and then you have the Drakes peeking on you like that. But luckily for them, still notched up at 0-0. But Drakes are taking a commanding lead in the pressure department. It is just locked in this blue half, and it seems like Ascension, they're playing more composed. There's not as many double commits, but a big whiff right there. The whiffs and mechanical mistakes still coming out, and if they have any hope of coming back here in this game 4 and the rest of the series, primarily Rocker Man has got to be the one to make these plays, but Reed right there with the pre-flip save, continuing to keep Ascension in this game.
And he almost went so far out of position that he couldn't get back to that one. He narrowly made his way either way. Still Ascension finding themselves in so many awkward positions this game. They need to find a way to get their rotations down once again and fight back. So here comes Logie looking for the center. Greenglow taking control. Sends it out as Rockerman gets a nice touch to the side. Green there to follow. This touch will be awkward. Dizzy not in the best spot. And Reed almost finding the touch, but just in time is Dizzy to get back to that one. Now Greenglow looking for the solo play. Didn't have enough boost or momentum to finish that one off. And now Dizzy coming in for the shot. It's off the backboard. Green has to make a touch here. He will. The ball will be sent over the midfield once again. An unconventional back pass from Green, but it seems to have worked out in Ascension's favor as he gets it middle.
No way.
And
Oh
Rockerman with the shot. A crazy passing play from Ascension.
That is not what I was expecting at all. With just like you mentioned, I was just as surprised as you were when Green, he just decided to smack the ball into his own corner. But I mean, he had the momentum, he had the speed to keep following his own touch, and I'm very concerned about this Rockerman playstyle, though. It worked out for him right there. There's no way, he almost hit the double and again off the crossbar.
Two
But I was gonna say,
crossbars.
Rockerman, he's cheating up so far, but redirect from him and it worked out right there. But they're gonna have to get this rotation under order.
They really do. I mean, they got a little bit fortunate. That back pass from Greenglow definitely would not recommend. Don't try that one at homes. As volatile as the corner can be, you don't want to run the risk of getting a bad bounce when back passing off of it. It worked out in their favor, and now they find themselves up 1 goal, but they still have to hold on.
And then open again. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it, merely. Ascension. They gotta fix it. I'm sorry.
They really do. Even looking past the semifinals, if they can manage to take down the Drakes, heading into the grand finals, that is not a problem you want to have. One that, if the other team realizes, is very exploitable. And here, Reed has to make the touch, does very well to get up with low boost. Ascension holds on, and they get past, doing better than holding on for now. Rockerman gets it past everyone, but Logie gets the ball off, and that one won't go in either. The Ascension nailing the crossbar and post challenge right now, but they don't have to score. They just have to avoid getting scored on. Now Reed looking for the touch. It's a bit awkward, and Dizzy's there to send a center ball. Now Green has to make his way up to this challenge. Gets a nice touch. The clear from Reed, and that should finalize the game. Maybe one more opportunity, but no, the Drakes will not get it, and Ascension will tie the series up.
Yeah, and my heart raced a little bit there for Ascension so many times. And in that final 30 seconds, we saw Reed have to make a last-ditch save. And I mean, maybe in the speed of a player in the Titan League, it's okay to put yourself in that kind of position. But I mean, these players, they're just not fast enough to get back consistently in a timely manner at this level. And Ascension, they're counting their lucky stars that they were able to make as many good saves as they did. And lucky for them, they didn't have to make saves sometimes because that opening minute, that opening 2 minutes where Dizzy almost got that double tap. I mean, the Drakes missed so many shots. They have 8 shots and they couldn't put any of them in. But then again, on the other side, we were talking about not wanting to let Ray Ray clip on you. Drake's almost let Rocker Man clip on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could still even see that passing play end up in clips in an hour or so. I wouldn't be too
I was talking
surprised.
about the double tap.
But yeah, no, the double tap would have been even more insane. Either way, though, I mean, Ascension missed a ton of shots. Really, this game, that last game was just both teams missing a lot of shots. Ascension's the only one to put in a goal, and they will be able to equalize the series. Now, this next game is even more critical, as whichever team wins will be on match point with the 2 games to close it out. We'll have to see if the trends of missing open nets and lackadaisical defense continue. As Logie air dribbling the ball over his center, Greenglow can't find the shot, but it's still dangerous. As Reed, trying to stay on this one, decides to bail out. Rockerman getting a pass center. Green there, can't find the touch though. A long clear from Logie, and Reed does well to make that touch. And now it's the Drakes coming back with some offense. I do want to say, though, one thing that has separated Ascension in this game, it seems, is that when Reed is left as last back, well, first of all, he's actually back when Ascension needs him to be quite often, and he's actually making very important touches, and an even more important touch is he's going to score the first goal of Game 5.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Every time Reed is last back on defense, more often than not, he's able to find the save, and a highly mechanical save as well to send that off to the side. That's 3 times now. He's been in the direct path of the ball and jumped up to it and pushed it away to a corner. Not even off his own backboard, and he's gonna just dunk out. I don't even know who he dunked out, but it doesn't even matter. They're up 2-0 now.
Reed is feeling good. Maybe I need to take a trip to Florida to start dunking on some kids in ranked, because he's actually looking some of the best Rocket League I've seen from him all season. Like we said before, the save from the previous play was almost more impressive than the goal, but now he's just playing at full confidence, and it's working out.
And I think the issue with that other game when we saw that last second opportunity get squandered with Rockerman double committing, I think Greenglow and Rockerman, they were still trying to transition from their playstyle with Alpha into their normal roster with Reed, as Green making an interesting save on the goal line. And I think now, last game and then this game, they've kind of settled in and they're respecting the third man in Reed more, because other game 3, his first game, they were still just all over each other.
It did appear to be that way, and they certainly look much cleaner now than they did previously. Drakes might have to mix it up a little bit themselves, get a little bit more creative on offense, but all they needed was a shot there. Actually, Ray Ray, the 700-pound man, comes out of nowhere to block the shot from Logie. I don't know if Logie would have even been able to put it on target, but he certainly had a better line of sight on the ball than his teammate. And here, Green looking for the double, or just the backboard read, actually. Rockerman will find it after Green misses the initial touch.
Yeah, and the Ray Ray antics actually putting the Drakes in an awkward spot. And now, if Ray Ray, it was a problem in the Dissolved series, didn't really get exploited in the Wraiths one, but if Ray Ray is going to continually be running over his teammates, I mean, he took a shot opportunity away from Logie, but like you mentioned, not really quite sure if Logie had an actual realistic opportunity right there. And there he is again, taking the ball away from Logie once again. Didn't really have a shot again, but it doesn't matter if your teammate has a shot or not. You got to respect your teammate's positioning. and putting them in the double commits is going to leave your last man back in an awkward spot, which is how they just scored their last goal.
Yeah, and that's something very important that, if in the lower leagues like novice and prospect, sometimes one player just kind of going off the hook and ball chasing can be a secret to success, but especially now that Ascension seems to have figured out their rotation somewhat, I don't think it's going to be any sort of key to victory for them. They need to focus on finding something tangible on offense before they start just going crazy. As Greenglow going a bit crazy himself, looks for the touch off the ceiling, doesn't find it, and once again we see Rockerman casually hunting for
Yep.
demos on the goal line.
Yep.
I have no idea why he was there. If he was in my ranked game doing that, I would be yelling at him furiously. But it's working out for them so far as they're 3 goals up now. And might be about to add another one. Greenglow on the dribble. Rockerman getting the bump. Greenglow with the turbo flick. And this actually is really dangerous. Ascension escapes the danger, but a bit of an all-in play there. Since the bump didn't work out, that one was almost led to a goal on the other end of the field.
And they actually sent 2 people for the bump. Rockerman was already harassing him, and as all 3 Ascension players are on their own back wall bumping into each other, I guess the rotation kinks haven't quite been ironed out yet, but I mean, they kind of a nervous play there for Ascension. They didn't really need to be committing all 3 people to a play when you're up 3-0. You don't want to give the Drakes a reason to come back in this game, although now, with a minute left, a 3-0 comeback would be hard-pressed to find. And Ascension, if they can just hold on, like you mentioned, will put themselves on match point.
And that is definitely where they want to be. It hasn't been an easy series so far at all. This is probably the easiest point in the series so far for them. They just need to avoid getting scored on. But as I say that, Dizzy comes in and gives the Drakes just a little bit of hope in this game 5.
And the 700-pound man himself pre-flipping off the wall. Solid dunk. And honestly, I mean, not even slouching, not even throwing shade at him, but it honestly has been the best thing he's done all game. Just the way he's been playing in this game 5, it just hasn't been clean from him. He's just been running over all his own teammates, and he even tried to get a ceiling pass earlier, and it might just be time for the rest of Drake's and Ray Ray primarily to just go back to basics, getting just a good 50 like that to put his team in spots to succeed instead of going for these unorthodox plays and putting in your team's position to failure.
And speaking of unorthodox, Ascension did not seem to be scared at all of getting scored on twice more, as Rockerman and Gringlo were both going for different clips in the final 30 seconds. It does work out in their favor as they manage to keep the Drakes from scoring any more goals. But maybe a little bit too confident. Now they do have 2 more games to close out this series. What do you think the Drakes really need to exploit or fix, for that matter, in order to bring this one back?
I mean, now it's just a question of rotation for the Drakes now, because this whole series has just been whose rotation is better. It's not really like fantastic plays are coming out in every game. I mean, we almost saw a Rockerman double. We almost saw a Dizzy double. I mean, quite frankly, the best play of the game was that Rockerman redirect top left, or play of the series, and it's just a matter of who's capitalizing on these rotational errors. First few games, it was the Drakes, even though the Drakes have only been able to get 2 games in the series, and Ascension, now they're on the opposite side, pinning the Drakes against the wall and forcing them to be the bearers of their own mistakes. And I think it does come down to Ray Ray. I mean, he is the key to this Drakes team. He can either be the best player on the field, or he can be causing the most disaster for both teams. And it just honestly comes down to him. And we saw both games where he was just his classic self, just ball chasing, pre-jumping, being in spots where you wouldn't expect people to be. He was sitting at 100 points, 0 shots, zeros across the board. And the games where he's been a factor, he's been putting it back to basics. If the Drakes can take it back to basics, they could easily take this one back to game 7.
Yeah, he's always a factor of a player, one way or the other. His playstyle, perhaps that of a tornado who you pray destroys the other town and not yours. But He will just have to go back to fundamentals if the Drakes want to have a chance in the series. Now they have to win 2 in a row in order to have anything here, or in order to advance to the grand finals for that matter. Here we see him taking the dribble. Flicks it past one. Gringlow there to shut it down. Forbidden Temple, you know, it's already been an unorthodox match. We all know what happens on Forbidden Temple, Bagels. We're not going to see a
And the
normal
last
game
time,
6 here, I'm sure.
yeah, you know, anything but is always welcome just for the entertainment. But the last time Ray Ray was on this map, that was the apex of strangeness. And we'll have to see if we get a return to form here. Get some strange kickoff goals. Maybe even Ray Ray clips on Rockerman in some sort of epic fashion. Honestly, I would warrant it just for the hype. But I mean, nothing quite too strange happened in the Gravity Dragon series. Definitely some good
That's
plays
true.
came out, but at least in the playoffs, as far as playoffs is concerned, it has been always been an interesting map.
Always, and it never disappoints. We'll have to see what shapes of this game, as Ascension will be looking to head to the grand finals with a win. And the Drakes keeping their grand finals hopes alive if they can find the win. As here comes Ray Ray looking for the shot. Rockerman turned back towards that one just in time to save it. And this is actually just an open net. That one might just go in off the post, and it will. Bit of an overcommit there from the Drakes. Actually, a huge overcommit by the Drakes.
And just comes back to what I was saying at the end of that game 5. It has completely been a series of just exploiting the rotation and capitalizing on these open nets and these players that are hard challenging as third man. And Loki, he just put himself too far out of position, and a big whiff from Rockerman completely deflates all that momentum they just got.
And a double whiff, actually, as Reed looked like he was trying to get a touch on his way back off of the kickoff. Rockerman misjudges the trajectory of the ball, and all of a sudden we've got a tie game. Not sure exactly what to make of that one, but definitely that one, more than any other goal in the series, even can be chalked up to Ascension's mistakes. Looking to fight back now. It's Green. Gets it to the corner. Rockerman off the side. This could be a shot for Green, who's there for the shot and puts that one in the top shelf.
Yeah, and just again, I'm gonna keep bringing it up. I'm gonna keep nailing that nail on the board, and it's just the rotation for Drake's 2 players flat-footed on the goal line. I think it was Dizzy in the corner, just in the corner for whatever reason, not on the backboard. Backboard completely undefended. Here's an undefended backboard for the Ascension as the ground pinch. I'm not even quite sure how it went in that direction, but
I,
another
I,
opportunity for the Drakes to completely tie up the momentum.
yeah, I don't know exactly what's happening here. We expected nothing less, of course, but still I'm confused. And this is another opportunity for Ascension that will somehow work its way to an opportunity for the Drakes. As Dizzy flips past this one on the dribble, fakes the jump, and Reed up for that one. Reads it well. The ball is still centered. Drake's with an opportunity. Dizzy with a nice shot, but it actually goes off the post. Now Green gonna look for the dribble himself. Gets it past one. Looks like we might have had a disconnect. The 700-pound man is caught just moving motionless. I don't know what happened to him.
Might be in cardiac arrest, but either way, Ascension will capitalize on it, and just not quite sure. I mean, that's unfortunate for the Drakes, but I don't even think it was a disconnect. I think he just lagged out momentarily as he's back here for the kickoff now. But
Ah, yes.
I mean, either way, you don't want to give up a goal like that. I mean, it's unfortunate, but unfortunately, issues like that do happen.
And that's not the way you want to concede at all, especially in such a crucial game. But they will win back that goal with Logie sniping and opening through the defense. Reed can't get the best touch here.
Yeah, and assuming, I'm not quite sure who it was on the Drakes, assuming the Drakes found that ground pinch goal, the strangeness of this map would have continued because every time Ascension has scored, the Drakes would have scored right after on the kickoff, and all 3 goals for the Drakes would have been kickoff goals, but still they weren't able to capitalize on that opportunity. in this whole series is who can capitalize on the open net and who can do it more consistently. And at the moment, Ascension have proven to do so. And again, the open net continues to be an issue.
Ooh.
And if Drake somehow mount a comeback here, I'm very worried for either of these two teams when they face Motion because honestly, the way these two teams are playing, I think Motion takes it.
I mean, it's tough to say. Motion very well could. I'm not sure if the strangeness of this matchup is due to the matchup in itself, or both these teams are, influencing the outcome themselves. If Drake somehow come back here, then they will certainly be. I think they would have one of the best lower bracket playoffs runs of all time if they can somehow come back and make it to the grand finals. Then I would have to give it to them over Motion just for the pure entertainment value. But first, they have to try to get through this one. It's not going to be an easy task as Logie gets beat out by Reed. All Ascension has to do now is play a possession game. Rockerman gets the dribble past one. Green opts not to dive in for the challenge. But that'll let Dizzy come up here with a play of his own. Gets it off the backboard. This could be an opportunity for the Drakes. But the ball will be sent out. Now 20 seconds left. Time is dwindling for the Drakes. They need to make a play happen incredibly fast here, or else they will be sent home. And after everything that's happened, we will come away with a somewhat uneventful game 6. And it looks like that is the way we are headed as we are reaching the final 5 seconds. It is mathematically impossible now for the Drakes to mount a comeback. You see the 700-pound man out of the lobby already, and Ascension are moving to the grand finals.
Yeah, and a little bit of an uneventful way to do it, but I mean, the whole series, I mean, just kind of a lackluster performance from both these two teams. I mean, props to Ascension having to deal with the sub troubles and, mixed rosters, but I mean, the name of the game for this series truly was rotation, and now that the Ascension have confirmed their ticket for the grand final spot against Motion, I mean, they better. I mean, take the rest of the night off. It's late. It's 12:30 Eastern. Take the night off, but I mean, if I'm Ascension, I better be grinding on Friday. I better be grinding early Saturday morning because I am not convinced at all from this performance if they're going to be going up against Motion. But a popping Kovalchuk, Sushi is carrying the team, and Vanity Bop a solid third. I mean, once again, congratulations, but they got work to do.
I mean, if Vanity Bop is somehow your third, then you already gotta be scared of that. But I definitely have to agree, a bit unconvincing. Maybe some jet lag affecting that one. Not entirely sure. Uh, but if they can get some scrims in, they'll definitely be formidable opponents in the grand finals. Definitely still have a shot at taking it all. Before playoffs began, they were considered the best team. Maybe a few people have doubts now that they've seen them play on stream. They have to try and work out and try and prove those doubts wrong. But once again, yeah, a little bit of a scuffed series. Uh, Also, pretty late at night, as you mentioned. Maybe that added a bit of a factor. But neither team played terribly, I'd argue. I mean, for Challenger, I feel like they both stepped up at certain points. It was just crucial errors in judgment throughout the series that led to, those critical mistakes being capitalized on. But well played by the Drakes for coming this far, and we do now have the the championship picture. We have 10 teams who will be battling it out. 5 of those will become victors come Saturday. You will not want to miss Saturday, the biggest stream in the entire season, as we get to see which teams will take away the $1,000 prize pool, and even more importantly, the pride and glory that comes with becoming a season 4 grand finalist champion. A lot more awards in store as well on the line. Everything will be on the line Saturday. Once again, though, thanks for having this match. Bagels, thank you for casting with me. Always a pleasure. Hopefully, we get to cast another grand finals together, as I believe we did last season as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it won't be able to be the rival grand finals because I will be warming up for my spot going up against Gravity. But I mean, like you said, I think all these grand finals teams most of the time the one seed made it in. I'm pretty sure every single one seed made it in, and all the teams coming through the top part of the bracket. We got some star-studded rosters coming in, and I would really hate to see a 4-1 or a 4-0 sweep in any of these matches, and I don't think it will. And I think we got a hell of a 5 game set coming up for us on Saturday night.
Definitely have to agree with that. Almost all of the matchups, well, all of the matchups actually, should theoretically be very close series. Even if one or two of them aren't, surely the other ones will make up for it. We always have some insane grand finals games. You guys won't want to miss it. But thanks for tuning in for this stream today. It's been a pleasure watching all of these semifinals with you guys, having you here with us in the chat, hanging out. I want to thank you guys once again, and we will see you back here on Saturday night for the last Saturday night of the season and where everyone will lay it on the line. Have a good night, guys.